All right, 2210, how are we for our third week here? So, what you guys have done by this week's start, you've completed the first quiz, the 10 question, 50-point quiz. And there was a 60-minute limit there, open book. Most of you did very, very well. Sprinkle in a few more quizzes throughout the term. For this and next week, though, we are moving on to our first individual assignment. So I'm going to differentiate individual assignments. That's going to be our resume and cover letter. Okay, so each of us is going to draft a resume and cover letter, and I'll get into the specifics momentarily. But what I want to elaborate on by that differentiation between individual and group assignments is that after these individual assignments, the resume, the cover letter, we are then going to, and I will do this, bracket off into groups to start organizing for our semester project. The semester project, and I have a write-up that I will add in Canvas in the coming weeks, is going to call on you all to work collaboratively to address an industry problem. Vague and abstract right now. Don't worry about it at this point in time. I will elaborate on it, delineate all of the particulars in the coming weeks. But I did get confirmation from at least one student saying that you all are able to work collaboratively. You all are in relatively close touch. Remember, I was concerned about it being difficult for us to communicate with each other, given that we're online. You can't necessarily rely on seeing your partner in your group during a class meeting. But I got at least one student telling me, it shouldn't be a problem. Okay, so I'm going to work throughout the next couple weeks dividing the class into groups. I think we have about 18 people in this course. So maybe 6 groups of 3, something like that. Still in the brainstorming phases with that, so we'll roll that out in the coming weeks. But let's get to what we need to do for this week and next week. If you look in Canvas, you'll see that the resume and cover letter are due the 12th of June and the 14th of June. I think I have the resume due on the 12th, the Friday, and then the cover letter due that Sunday, the 14th. Staggered it a couple days there. Why not turn them both in Friday the 12th, minute before midnight? So let's be specific about what we're talking about here. So this has to do primarily with Chapter 15, entitled Applying for a Job. Now, Chapter 14, we're not necessarily basing these assignments on Chapter 14, but Chapter 14 is really good in that it deals with workplace communication, which is extremely critical to learn in the sense of adopting the right conventions of communicating clearly, professionally. Okay, for a little background here, I used to work at an insurance company, a third-party administrator insurance company, back in my New Orleans days. Customer service, and man, oh man, emails. I can't tell you how some of them were just abysmally worded in that the spelling, something as simple as spelling a word correctly. Okay, people in the office. I mean, it was scary. Okay, so that was one side of the spectrum. But then on the other side of the spectrum, you had people from the other offices throughout the country who were overwriting, like getting high on the sound of their own voice, let's say, okay, trying to type these really, overwrought, flowery emails. Now, in business communication and business correspondence, the whole name of the game is short, pithy, concise, okay? This isn't, your creative writing class. This isn't writing a novel, okay? It's great that you have mastery of vocabulary, okay? Not to dissuade or discourage anyone from that, but when you're communicating, it's not the time for you to show off your postmodern linguistics, let's say. You want to get to the point. The person reading it, receiving it, has to know what to do to further complete the job, the task. So I think Chapter 14 hits on some really, really critical points about workplace communication with being clear, concise, forthright. But we're focused more on Chapter 15 for the resume and cover letter. Now, the book calls the cover letter a job application letter. So that's what you'll see in the book. So let's turn to it here. So we have 3 styles of resumes that the book covers. The one I have open right here on page 403. This is probably the most conventional, the most common, I would say. The chronological resume, okay? And mine looks a lot like this, where you have your name, address, your personal communication information here, a brief summary of what you are seeking, and then, depending on what you want to showcase more, do you have more of an employment cachet, or do you have more of an education cachet? Okay, if you've been working in the field, let's say, for umpteen years, I would start off maybe with my employment history over my education history. It all depends on to what job you're applying, of course. But I would say that the chronological format is probably the most common, okay? You folks very well may have written chronological ones where you're just chronicling where you've come from professionally and in terms of your education from A to Z, okay? And this is page 403. Now, there are 3 styles of resumes in Chapter 15. There's the chronological resume. Flip over about 5 or 6 pages. And after you look at the document, the example, it breaks it down in the chapter, each component, okay? So flip over a few pages, and you'll see other styles of resumes. The skills resume, for example, is on page 409, just as it would indicate, highlighting your skills, okay? And the entire example, the document here is on page 410, okay? There's also a plain text resume, which is on page 412. This one is the most, I guess, mechanical looking one that I could find, or that I see here in the 3 examples. To me, it's the least attractive visually. You know, maybe you like it, maybe you like the format. Point being, depending on what you're applying to, each of the 3 resumes might suit your particular needs. Now, after the resumes, and I'll be specific about what we're doing there in a second, the job application letter, the cover letter, okay, that is on page 414 and 415, okay? And I, too, I have my own little templates. You know, during the lockdown, driving myself crazy with nothing to do, man, I started applying to jobs left and right. Teaching jobs, boom, 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 boom. Get that resume brushed up. Of course, you know, each job you apply to, you might need to make some tweaks in the resume. You certainly need to change the text of your cover letter, your job application letter. And even I, looking back, oh no, I maintained the former cover letter script when I should have changed to meet this job that I'm applying to. Sometimes you'll make those little mistakes where you forget to change the name of the company. The school you're applying to, it reflects the old one. So you want to be careful with that stuff. It's those little things that when a potential employer sees them, they're going to be like, come on. That's not us. That's someone else, okay? Okay, so let's get to what we want to do here. What I want you all to do is think of 3 industries, 3 potential jobs to which you would apply. And I have this in the instructions. When you click on the assignment link in Canvas, you'll see this, what I'm saying now, in script form. Think of 3 industries, and I want you to write a resume for each of the 3 industries. And this could be your personal resume, okay? It could be something you are making up, okay? But what I want you to do is write a resume, let's say, for example, a grocery store manager. that resume is going to be different than a resume for, say, a welding technician. Okay. Now, in terms of the styles, you guys can diversify. You could do a plain text resume, say for your grocery store example, grocery store manager example. You could do a skills resume, let's say, for your welding technician example. I want 3 of these. So the third one you could do, let's say, a chronological resume for your educational consultant position. Okay. So to reiterate, 3 resumes for 3 different industries, whatever industry you want. If you want to look up on Indeed.com or other job sites, Monster, Indeed's probably the most popular. For some guidance or inspiration for some different industries, go ahead and look at Indeed. Okay. So what I want you all to do again, and this is on a single document attached, a Word document, 3 pages. Speaking of 3 pages, a good resume is 1 page as best you can. Sometimes you'll need to go into a second page, but you want that resume to be concise, to the bone. Okay. Don't lard it up with all this flowery purple prose. Okay. So 1 resume for industry A, 1 resume for industry B, 1 resume for industry C. Now, you could do whichever style you want. You could do a chronological one for each one, a plain text for each one, 2 plain texts, and a skills one. Okay, whatever combination you want out of the 3 examples in the book, okay? So 3 resumes for 3 jobs for 3 different industries, okay? And then, similarly, 3 different cover letters or job application letters that match each resume for each of the industries, okay? Look at the examples in the book, chapter 15. I gave you the page numbers there, okay? If you have any questions this week, let me know. But this is what we're doing the next couple weeks. Remember, resume, 3 of them, single document, single file, 3 pages, 1 file you submit. Do the 12th, Friday, minute before midnight. And then, same thing with the cover letters, 3 of them, single document, okay? Do Sunday, the 14th, minute before midnight, okay? That's what we're doing these next 2 weeks. While we're doing that, I'm going to be working on the course project and seeing which groups I'm going to cluster you all into, okay? So I think that's it, guys. Next 2 weeks, your resume, 1 resume per industry, per job role, okay? Again, it could be your own personal resume that you modify per industry. You can make one up, okay? And then accompanying that, 3 cover letters to match, okay? Any questions, folks? Don't hesitate to reach out to me. Shoot me an email. But that's what we're doing the next 2 weeks, okay? Any help? Anybody want me to look at your resume? Maybe do a little rough draft check, like we used to call it back in 1101? Let me know, okay? If you're following the models in the book, you can't go wrong, okay? But if you want me to check your verbiage, making sure your T's are crossed and I's are dotted, correct grammar, correct punctuation, things like that, I'm happy to look at it, okay? All right, folks, so that is what we're doing for our week 3 and week 4. Okay, I'll still have another announcement rolled out next week. We'll have a little more information about the class project at the rollout of the week 4 video and announcement. Okay? All right, guys, signing off. Have a good one. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.